this article that I was reading from the New York Times asking the question of, is there a split? Is there an imminent split in the Republican Party? And the simple answer is, of course. Of course, there's a split coming in the Republican Party. You can see it. We've been seeing it all summer long. But the split has, the way the New York Times wants to wrap it is that this split is really regarding economic issues and the disagreement that the working class Republican has with the establishment Republican. And so some Republicans feel kind of like you were saying, John, they feel like they have this figured out when in reality, they've got the wrong thing figured out. They feel like the answer is a Donald Trump, but they clearly have misdiagnosed, right, the real problem. They feel that the problem is Obamacare, and they still want somebody to repeal Obamacare, when in reality, Obamacare has been beneficial to the economy, to the average American. I've heard stories of some Americans seeing their rates go up, but in general, it's been an overall success for most Americans. More people are insured right now. Could it be better? Absolutely. We could have a single payer system. But their solution, and by there, I'm referring to the Republicans, their solution is to turn away from programs like Obamacare, to absolutely deride anything like single payer system, to completely dismiss the economic viability of Bernie Sanders' plan, and turn towards more austerity, cutting taxes, cutting benefits. That to them is the solution in their minds. So simultaneously, you have a segment of the Republican Party who feels like the establishment has been playing them. So they have a moment of epiphany, right? But then they turn around to the worst solution possible for the problem that they diagnosed. They turn and run to a Donald Trump. They turn and run to a Ted Cruz. That's this whole era of misinformation, this whole era of the do nothings, or the know nothings, right? The know nothing party, where they intentionally embrace misinformation because it satisfies that itch in them. But so yes, they feel as though the establishment has betrayed them, but no, they haven't figured out the right solution because they're turning to a Donald Trump and a Ted Cruz. And this goes directly to the New York Times article that I wanted to discuss, which is that is bringing a split in the Republican Party, which for me is like, here, split them up. They deserve to be split up. But the New York Times article, again, puts it on economic issues, and they say nothing really of the reason I laid out this summer that the Republican Party is splitting. The Republican Party is splitting not just because of economics. The Republican Party is splitting because of economics, nationalism, and bigotry. Because if it was just economics, and this is one of the things that we were arguing about extensively with the Progressive Army a few weeks ago, a little internal spat. But if it was just about economics, then they would rightfully turn their attention to someone like Bernie Sanders. But it's not just about economics. It's about economics, nationalism, with a hint and sometimes tremendous overtones of bigotry. And so you have the establishment Republican Party. They're seriously terrified and collapsing because they don't know what to do with Donald Trump, and they don't know that they can continue to pacify this block of voters that they've been pacifying for the last 40 years with subtle Southern strategies, xenophobia, putting up a boogeyman, all the while getting away with economic treachery. So now the people have caught on to the economic treachery, and all they have left is the nationalism the boogeyman, and the bigotry. I mean, what do you do with that? Bernie Sanders seems to think that he can win them over. And I still don't know if he can. I still don't know if they're going to be willing to let go. Bernie Sanders gave a caveat. He said if they would be willing to realize that it's not the Mexican picking tomatoes near the Everglades in South Florida that's taking your jobs. It's the fact that your jobs have been shipped overseas. He said if they can get over that and see the real problem, then yes, he has a solution for them. But the real question is, can they get over the nationalism, the bigotry, and the xenophobia? There's a very, very strong propensity of a certain segment of America to go full nationalist, like full-throated. If you're not American, if you're not Christian, or will allow some people from Judaism, but if you're not exactly the way we need you to be, then this isn't for you. And Donald Trump has tapped into that, and the establishment Republican Party is incapable of stopping him because they fed that monster for a very, very long time. They fed that monster for 40 years. And so there was a saying my dad used to say, you can feed an alligator all you want, you'll be the last one it eats. And that's what we're seeing with the Republican Party. They're incapable of stopping Donald Trump because they created a monster in their base that feeds off of Donald Trump and knows no other leader than a person like Donald Trump. So I think it's a silly question from the New York Times. Is there going to be a split? Of course there's going to be a split. The Republican Party is inept. They are not, the establishment is not politically savvy enough anymore to keep this coalition together. You're going to see a very strong divide. And I argue you're going to see a similar divide in progressive circles, in the Democratic Party. I think this 2016 is a pivotal election. I cannot stress that enough. This is more significant than Barack Obama's election by far, because we are seeing the dividing of our political parties from 2 into 4. And the question is, which one of those 4 groups are really going to take the lead as we merge back into 2? Because the way our bank account is set up, the way our system is set up, we're not going to have 4 parties. We're going to always have 2 parties. But the question is, which ideology is really going to foment to the top and take lead?